Greetings, brothers and sisters. It's your brother Sundin Esperance, or as some of you may know me as the podcast man, back again with another episode of the Athletic Podcast. Today is a bit different. Now, I mean, this is something I would say that's long overdue, but it's being dealt with right now. This moment, we are gonna have our very first episode of what may be a continuous segment, a brotherhood rap session, or brotherhood men's talk, or whatever it be when brothers just come together and we rap. Not like in the world now before somebody go out there and say we rappers. Not like that. Now we talking about talking now. Just gotta put that out there. I just gotta put that out there. But
Clear it up. Clear it up.
but we got some, brothers of of age, we got some of young, so it's truly, wonderful to be able to have like-minded brothers where we could come together and get these segments. It's something that's so important because, as y'all know, there's a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of young boys out there with no father figure, no role model or anything of such at all. Some don't even know what their dad looked like, and when you really like think about it and ponder upon it, it's a tough reality. So not that there's a man who did his due diligence to have you out there, but now doesn't even want to claim you as his son. So we're gonna make mention of what the topic is gonna be out later today. As always, this podcast affiliates itself with one church and one church only, that is First Church of our Lord Jesus Christ, with a leader, teacher, and guide is Apostle Pastor Jennings. If you would love to be baptized right in the name of Jesus Christ, you can go on the truthofgod.com, click locations, see what location is closest to you, and set that baptism up. Or you can look at the baptism calendar of events. That's right, there's baptism calendar of events where it will show where the truth of God will be that weekend or that week, where you'll be able to, set yourself up to go get baptized. Bring your own clothes just in case and towels. You can never go wrong if you do so. I don't want to tell you, just go there and they will have extras for you. I don't know. Just bring it just in case. You can never go wrong if you do. And of course, if you're looking for a first church to attend, you can go on the truthofgod.com, click locations, and see what location is closest to you. As always, let's continue to keep the apostle and his family in prayer, as well as the faithful ministering brethren and their families as well. And let's not forget to keep one another in prayers too, brothers and sisters. As you know, many of us go through trials and tribulations, so let's continue to keep one another in prayer. And of course, don't forget youth convocation is coming up April 17th to the 20th, 2025. It's going to be at headquarters in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So come out and show out and let's, meet our extended family little by little. And of course, before I begin, as always, I want to give thanks to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for all that He continues to do for me and my family. Giving thanks for the former prophets and apostles of old, and giving thanks for our current day leader, teacher, and guide, Apostle Pastor Jennings. And of course, giving thanks for the faithful ministering brethren who labor along with the man of God in the vineyard of holiness. And those of you in different auxiliaries as well, photography, youth, hospitality, media, whatever y'all are on, I truly give God thanks because a lot of people don't know how much goes behind the scenes, to have service functioning and all that medical, all that type of stuff. So I'm truly grateful for all of you for the work that you're doing so faithfully. So that will be enough from me. We're gonna get this thing started. So today, as y'all see, I have four brothers with us today. We got brother Ricky Johnson. I don't know where you born, but I know he attends headquarters. He gonna let us know where he at and stuff like that. We got brother Jalik, somewhere
That's
from there with a heavy accent. Now we're gonna get that for you too. You feel me? And we got brother John Grimes from the Carolinas. And we
Carolina.
also have the Carolina. There you go. There you see they always repping. They always repping some way somehow. And then we have brother Jordan. Once again, he may let us know where he at. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where he at. He could be in Chicago, Lado, Wado. I don't know though. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna let the brothers introduce themselves to begin with. Whoever wants to go first, it's up to you. Go ahead and just tell us a bit about who you are and so forth.
Okay, I guess I'll jump on in. My name is Brother Ricky Johnson, like Brother Sundin just said. I'm originally from the Mobile Temple. moved up to Philly in '96 headquarters in '96, and I've been here ever since. Thank God I'm a part of the NCC, the social media team. Shout outs to the Truth of God Times International Newsletter and Holy Times Magazine, where I'm the publisher, and now the president of the Men Up Mentoring Group. And just thanking God for the opportunity to be able to be a part of something so wonderful and so big, and I think so important. And we're really looking forward to this group, this mentoring group, not only to be able to address our young men, but to even have talks amongst ourselves, young men, middle-aged men, older men, um, pretty much based on what we're being taught from Pastor Jennings, our leader, teacher, and guide, Pastor Jennings. We thanking God for him and his teaching, and that's what's inspiring us to be able to communicate with our audience and with the brothers of this group.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much for that. Brother Ricky Johnson, so as y'all heard, he's been in this way of holiness for a good while, which
Yeah.
is truly a blessing to be able to have those that have been in here for some time. As being in this way of holiness, if you're in it, you're growing, not only growing in age, but in wisdom. If you're not growing in wisdom, then something wrong with you, not the teacher. So I don't know who's gonna be
Absolutely.
next. For Carolina, you've been out there, Carolina. So maybe we'll get you out there now.
Okay, yes. My name is John Grimes or Jonathan Grimes from Rocky Mount, North Carolina, Temple. I'm a youth captain out there. Also work with the music as well. I've been in First Church 13, 14, 15-ish years. Um, and I'm excited about the opportunity to work with Brother Ricky Johnson and the other brothers to do something like this. Man up. It's important. It's needed in this day and time with how society is. So to be part of something like this is great, and I'm just excited. And I'm gonna pass it to Brother Jalik. You go ahead and take it.
I know what he
All
did
right.
there, though.
Yeah,
I know what he did there, though.
that was clean now. That was
Hey,
clean.
hey, 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 hey.
Hey, because
He's
you
Carolinas now. He's
sure took me
Carolinas
by
now.
surprise. I'm talking about was sitting up here minding my business. Anywho, I digress. My name is Brother Jalik Wilson. I'm from I attend the Augusta GA Temple. For those of you who may not know where Augusta is in Georgia, it's about 2 hours, 2.5 hours southeast of Atlanta. So ATL, AUG, we just down to the right. Old country folk down here, down to the right. Been going. Let's see. Got introduced to the truth in 2021 or 2022. I can't quite remember, but got introduced by my mom. And crazy thing about it, and I often think about it now, is when she first showed me Apostle, I rejected it. Lord have mercy. I said, man, he ain't got to do all that, brother. Bro, doing too much. Like, relax, brother. Relax. I know your mic is hot with all that yelling you're doing. But man, as I start listening and as I start taking it in and really like receiving it, I'm like, man, hey, he might be yelling and he might be, doing the most, but the most is needed because I know I'm a hard-headed joker boy sometimes. I'm hard-headed and I need that extra, push and that extra discipline. So I started going in 2021 doing I also am one of the youth captains in Augusta. Also a part of the choir. Um, and I think that's it. That wraps me up.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for that, Brother Jalik. Thank God for having his way for you to come in this hard way of holiness. And we know it's
Yes,
hard.
Lord.
You're not going to change. Not
I
going to
know
change at
that's
all.
right.
Well, that leaves one more person on the list. Ain't nobody here now. We're gonna get Brother Jordan. Go ahead, Brother Jordan, and tell us a bit about yourself.
All right. Greetings, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
All right. So my name is Jason Jordan. From originally from Philadelphia. Go to the headquarters temple. Currently reside in Delaware. Um, I've been following the truth since probably about 2011. And I'll be honest, when growing up in, West Philadelphia, you know, my how can I put it? My grandmother was Baptist. She went to a Baptist church, and from a young age, I just kind of knew that wasn't. It was just something off about it. So, like most young men, I go through like just went through life and just thought, you know what, if I'm just going to be a good person, then maybe I have a shot at getting into the kingdom. And that's the way I thought from the time I was probably about 6 years old up until about 2011. 2011, I actually came across Pastor because a friend of mine who actually ended up turning into my wife introduced me to Pastor. And, I'll be honest, the first time that I heard the brother talk, and you could just feel it was just something different about it from the time that he got up and he started preaching to what he was teaching on and all the things that you when you growing up and you're not in the church and you hear people just talking about how church is hypocritical and things like that, but him touching on subjects that churches wasn't even touching, it kind of, as they say, it struck a nerve, or as they say, it pricked the heart. And I've been here ever since. Now, I'll be honest, when I first saw the spirit move on folk, I thought something was wrong with folk, not gonna lie. But then after I got the understanding about it and I got the wisdom behind it, it was like, okay, so that's what that feeling is, or that's what's going on. Um, and as far as like auxiliaries, the current auxiliary that I'm on there's an email, well, not an email, a letter typing team that our job is to type the letters that people send in to Pastor to basically reformat them to give to him so that way he can read them. So he's not trying to read through like folks' handwriting because, some folks, their handwriting isn't the best. I'll be honest, I'm one of them. And then and then the other auxiliary that I'm on at headquarters is during the spring is I try to do the grounds work sometimes, if we get up there and cut the grass. But I'm just excited to be a part of this man up. As a father myself, I kind of see how important it was because I had my father in my life, and that bond and that guidance is needed. Like Brother John was saying, it's needed in society. And I'm just excited to get started with these brothers here. And I turn it back over to you, Sundin.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Well, you all have heard it from our different brothers today, and pretty much that makes the topic pretty obvious today. So for those of you that do know and don't know, the youth captain, we sponsored another uh, department, if you want to say, in the youth captains bracket, which is called Man Up, right? And it's for young boys in truth, and also if you're not in truth as well, you're more than welcome to come on. It's really in the phrase "Man Up," where you have brothers who are dedicated to helping young brothers in this way of holiness based upon the teachings that has been received from the man of God. And when I say teaching, I'm not saying we're preaching now. I just gotta put that out there, because
No.
now somebody must have paused right now and said, "Got him! I knew it now." So but now that you're back after you paused, we're not preaching now. We're not preaching.
Right.
What I mean by that is, we're not going to give any advice or help the young one anything than what we have learned, right? So if one is, just an example of saying, hey, how do I get a girlfriend? We're not gonna tell you how to get a girlfriend because we don't do that in this way of holding it. So that's what I mean in terms of based upon the teachings of past. However, we do have one minister who, is on when he can, because it's man up, right? There may be some spiritual questions, these young ones have and, want to get to. So having a minister there always helps. So what the topic of discussion today is going to be, and, this is episode 1, if you will, is the importance of man up. What is the importance? Like, why is it important to have a man in that? This is a man now. I'm not even saying father now, but a man, because it's so common, too common and sad, where young kids today, um, young boys have no father. And I'll never forget, there was a saying, pretty much a couple years ago. Somebody was saying Happy Father's Day, but they were referring their mom, because mom had to be mother and father, which I completely understand, what he was saying, but it's still sad at the end of the day. So the discussion today of what we're going to have is the importance of having a man, in the life. If I'll just, build the icebreaker, I had a youth program that COVID came and wiped out, unfortunately, but I still kind of do look at 1-2 today, and it's where I mentored young kids, young youth. But one of the most painful things that I had to deal with was kids telling me to my face, I don't know who my dad is. So, and I would ask them, so you're telling me if you walked by your dad right now, you would have no idea who he is? They say, I wouldn't know who he is. And you get so close to these kids, now it's almost, they're being very dependent. And I always tell them, look, I ain't old enough to be your father now. You know what I'm saying? But I could be an older bro for you, something now. You know what I'm saying? I ain't that old. You know what I mean? But it's the things that I'm doing and that I'm reciprocating is a fatherhood thing. So that's when mine is like, okay, this, man is doing it for me. So let me stick with him. Let me stick to him. Because the one who actually had me, he didn't have the audacity to come back and say, let me care for you. Right. So and I realized when I met, especially one specific, he knows who he is. He probably gonna be listening to right now. When I met him, the mom, she's doing all she can. I'm not gonna say he was fruity in a certain way, but it's just he just didn't have a man in his life. And once, a man started to, be there for him, you started to see a difference in this young boy. You know what I'm saying? You started to see a certain zeal to really want to be that young boy who wants to turn into a man. And you started to see he thinks different, he talks different, he sits different. You know what I mean? Now, he is different because it shows that a lot of them, they have no idea how to, go on course in this life. And as I said, a mom can only do so much. But when it's all said and done, it takes a man to teach that boy how to be a man. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's just my little icebreaker. What do y'all brothers think? Is it important to have a man in a young boy's life?
Absolutely. I want to backtrack because I forgot to say I was a part of the photography team, and that's how I kind of like started off. So I can't leave them out. The whole photography team. Shout out to them
Yes,
too.
sir. Yes,
To
sir.
get back on track, of course, it's important to have a man in your life. Like growing up, my father was in my life, but he wasn't a real father. You know that's a little bit different. Like some people, like you said, they don't know who their father is. Mine, he was there, not in the same household, but he came over, he came around, I saw him, I went to that, but he just wasn't a real father. Um, and I also was one of those that when it came to Father's Day, I acknowledged him, but I always gave homage to my mother as well because I always felt like she was the one that really truly held it down. Fortunate for me, I grew up in the time where not only did I have men in my family, um, the neighborhood, the our actual neighborhood had older people that looked out for you. So in a lot of ways, even though my father wasn't in my household or, being like a real father, I had a lot of people that I could look towards and look up to. My uncles and some of the men that lived in the neighborhood. So I was fortunate in that area. As far as having a man in your life is absolutely necessary because, when boys become a certain age, of course, it's things that they ain't gonna want to talk to their mother about, that they're going through, that they're experiencing, like they can with their father. And just by nature, I mean, that just makes sense. I'm not going to talk to my mom about changes that I'm having, no matter how close I am to her. I can talk to her, I know that, but it's just certain things I'm not. And even in just our behavior and character, it's very important that we have a man that gives us good information and instruction. And as far as the man up group, that's what I'm hoping that we can convey to these young men to give them some good information. Like Sundin was saying, we're not trying to preach to nobody. I don't have the gospel. I just have knowledge and understanding of what Pastor Jennings is preaching. And one of the things, our very first conversation that we have was about what is a man, you know? And I'm so thankful and grateful that our pastor has taught that, man, a real man is one that obeys God. And if you think about it, that's not the conception or perception that people have of what a real man is, and even me when I was growing up, what I thought was a man was somebody that, had a bunch of kids and was out running the street and all the wrong things. Even though I had good examples in my life, you have a tendency, or some kids have a tendency of um, running behind those concepts that's not correct as far as what a man really is. So I'm thankful for what I'm learning from Pastor Jennings. Even at the age of 53 going on 54, I'm still learning, you know, and I just want to acknowledge that because another thing is that I know with some men is that we feel as though we have the answers to all things. We're our own man and all this other kind of stuff. And me myself, I don't believe that. I don't believe that because I think as you're being taught and instructed, and you hear wiser and deeper sayings and come into the understanding of what you were supposed to do, that opens up your mind and your understanding broader of what a man is and where you can improve. So that's what we're hoping that we can convey to these young brothers is to be able to sit down, talk to them, give them some good advice. Some situations we might not even have the answers. I might not have the answers, but I can be a listening ear and I can be a support. And like also Sundin was saying, we have a minister brother that if they have spiritual questions, they can go to him. So yeah, it's important that you have a man in your life, though. I feel as though.
Wonderful, wonderful. And now that we were a bit on the uh old side a bit, let's go out to the young end. So I'll bring Brother Jalik. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna scribble it up, you know what I'm saying?
I think men are very important, especially when it comes to having stability, especially when it comes to men bring stability, they bring authority, so leadership. Uh, I just think that they're very important. So like I got a kind of a similar story too. So I know my father, but I don't know my father. Like I know who he
Oh,
is, what he looked like, but I never had the opportunity to go outside in the front yard and I get my glove and he get the ball and we go out there and throw, or one of my favorite sports was football. So I never had the opportunity to go outside and throw the football. And, I want to be, acting like I'm Barry Sanders or whoever you like, or for the young folks out there, never had the opportunity or a chance to be, Derrick Henry and, try to run the football and to him and he tried to tackle me and have those moments that you will always remember. So my the father figures that I had in my life were Uncle Phil.
Mm.
and Bill the Cosby Show. So and Martin, you ain't gotta you ain't gotta go home, but you gotta get out of here, So get to stepping, and so all those guys growing up watching those shows, even though I'm not old enough to even though I wasn't old enough to you know, watch them when they came out or whatever. Like I watched them when they have the reruns on TV and stuff. So I learned what it was like to take care of family from TV, from society, from what I seen on TV. And so I would say now in coming into holiness, you know, Uncle Phil might have had the house. Uncle Phil might have had the car. Uncle Phil might have had the membership at the golf club. But learning holiness and coming into holiness, you got to have way more than that because that ain't gonna get you nowhere. And so I've learned, and I am learning that being a real man is not just providing. It's not just having the material things, but it's what can you provide for the family emotionally? What can you provide for the family when it comes to giving advice as far as you know, how to better yourself and not just material wise. So I would say men are very important. And as I continue to learn and as I continue to grow in holiness, I'm learning that there is more required.
No, and no, that Uncle Phil reference is something that I've heard moreover, and I mean, one could really look up to one based upon all that they knew, but when you look at Uncle Phil's characteristics, he was an educated man, didn't think that you had to be an athlete to be successful, believed in, from what we've seen of having one wife, except, the change in between episodes,
Yeah,
because,
yeah. You're like,
a
now wait
next
a
woman,
minute now.
yeah, next, it was still the same wife, but y'all get
Yeah,
what I'm saying,
that's right.
and, I
Viv, I
believe,
was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
but I believe the episode that, got to a lot of people was where, Will Smith actual father came and said, "Hey son, I'm here and
Yeah.
we're gonna, do all
Mhm.
this and all that stuff." And then Uncle Phil, knew the characteristics of Will's actual father and was warning Will.
Mhm.
But Will is having such a good time wanting to be with his dad that he's like, "Uncle Phil, get out of here." Even though, Uncle Phil, you have been raising me and paying for my education and my sporting and showing me what it is to be a man, my actual father is here, so fall back. But he didn't realize Uncle Phil was just trying to protect him. And then,
Mhm.
of course, lo and behold, his actual father is like, "You know what? I gotta go, da da da." And Will comes, and that was a very emotional episode. I mean, if you a
Oh yeah.
man, you probably teared up
Oh yeah.
to
That was
that
good.
because
One.
Yeah.
wow, you really felt, the emotion. It's almost as if that wasn't acting for a second. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like that was actually legitimate. And Will in, before, all his, other stuff, but Will in that moment in time, when you think about it, that wasn't a cry for himself. That was a cry for thousands
Yes, sir.
of young brothers with no dad.
Mhm.
That was a cry for maybe even millions of
Hmm.
Yeah.
some saying, "You know what, dad, you don't want to be in my life? Well, don't worry. I'm gonna do me then. You don't want to
That's
be in
right.
my life?" And he started going off. He said, "Don't worry, Uncle Phil. I'm gonna have a whole bunch of kids." And like it was just that was
Yeah.
crazy. So I completely
Mhm.
understand. But then, at the end of the day, yes, Uncle Phil, you have the house, you have this, you have that. But when it comes down to it, do you have God?
I know
My
that's right.
days.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Go
saying?
ahead.
So we'll
Amen.
pull in, I know Brother Jordan spoke last the first time. We can't make him go again because they're gonna be like, "Why we keep making this brother go last?" You know what I'm saying? So we make brother Grimes go last on this one. Brother Jordan, what are your thoughts on the importance of a man?
I mean, I think that the importance of, you know, the man, it's very important, especially for, a household, because especially with the way society is now, is that they push that whole, I guess they call it that initiative that you don't need a man, especially from the side of on, women, because unfortunately, a lot of women, sisters, they've been put in positions where they had to raise children by themselves. And because of that, turned that turned it bitter towards the men. And then they try and make everything, they make it back. They basically is making it backwards. So I agree with what Brother Jalik was saying. I agree with what Brother Rick was saying, that the importance of having that man, having a male in your life to kind of help you develop not only physically, but on a mental aspect as a man, because let's face it, mom can tell you what you should be doing, but dad is like, look, I understand your mentality. I understand why you think the way you do because you are a part of me. And, I can see parts of me in you. So let me try and guide that. So that's the real importance, is seeing that mentality, how that mentality is going to affect that young brother, and trying to mold it. The man's job is to try and mold that young man to be a better man. Now, not every man can do that, but it is important that you have one that has that wisdom and that knowledge and that understanding, as well as understanding that God first, to be able to pass that on. So that's my take on it.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, Brother Jalik and Brother, Rick mentioning, yeah, my father was there, but not there. Some would say it's actually worse than a father who's not there at all.
Yes.
When, one is there, but you're not present, what I'm saying? You're not there for me when I need it to be, on whatever reasoning they're not being there, right? Some, dad has a whole other family, has, maybe hung up on drugs, just whatever he's on, and it's like you're there but you're not. That itself could even be worse, for one who is just not there at all. But before we move on to the next topic, Brother Grimes, what are your thoughts, in terms of the importance of a man being there? Why is man up so important for?
Oh man, it's as my brothers already stated, the importance, it gives direction. Unlike the direction from mom, as the league stated, the authority in your voice as a man is totally different. Mom may tell you to take out your trash, but daddy telling you to take out the trash is totally different.
Yeah.
And that's that thunder coming with that thunder. Is something that God ordained. That's what's supposed to be in the family. You're supposed to have the father there with the mom, and this gives that balance. In a lot of the households today, and I can even speak for myself. I was with my father for a period of time, and at a certain age, my parents split, and my brother and I, we talk about it often. We saw the difference when our father was in the home and when he wasn't, and how the direction, the trajectory of our siblings, how everything changed versus when he was there. And that's one of the things that I proposed to my stated within myself. Whenever I did have a family, I have to stay there, and just aligning with teaching from Pastor Jennings that forces us and guides us to stay there and gives us instructions on what to do. That's so important. And even, since I have daughters now, I want my daughter to marry someone one day. And you want them to marry a man,
A
not
real.
the men that they're pumping out today. Honestly, they're more emotional than the woman. They're more feminine acting than the woman, and So really you look at your daughters and you wonder, am my daughter's going to get married one day, or will they be taking care of their husbands? So, if we don't say anything and do anything now, we're part of the problem. And I believe in not being part of the problem, but if we see something, hey, let's start working. And that's what Pastor Jennings preaches. A man's supposed to work, and not every job is going to be in the pulpit. We need some brothers to go out there and be a brother, be a big brother, help out your brothers, and be an example in that way. And is as he stated, Pastor Jennings always say, the harvest is ripe, but everyone's, and we know in today's society, people always want to run in the pulpit, but just be a good brother, be a good husband. And just imagine if there were great husbands, that would make Pastor Jennings' job easier. Because the husbands would be doing their role in the home, and oh my God, it's so important. Hear the word and try to be the reflection of it as we hearing it, and just put it to work. Start talking to the brothers, teaching the brothers, and even my own sons, dealing with some of the things they're learning in school, which is contrary to being a man. They want to kind of dampen your voice and kind of sit you down. And even in the early grades, boys are more active. And sometimes when the boys are active, they want to put them on medication. And there's been many times I had to go out to my son's school and talk to the teachers and say, no, we're not going to put him on medication. He's just active. And I had to give him talks. But just the importance of a father, even going out to the schools, just being around, and even in the community. And lastly, when I grew up, when my father split, my mother was wise enough to uh, uh, keep us around the men in the church. And even we had my fifth grade teacher. He was a war veteran. He was a Vietnam veteran, and he was so disciplined. Everyone was scared of him. He was about 6'4", and knuckles were huge, and everyone was scared of him. But I learned so much from that teacher, and the discipline, and just it's totally different when you get the acceptance of the father than the mother. And the role of the mother is important, but ain't nothing like the father. So just to be a part of a group to encourage that mentality, and just be an example to the brothers is great. And hopefully produce some men that my daughters one day get married.
Yeah, that's true.
No, it is definitely true, in terms of all that's being spoken about. And, one thing that all of you don't, I don't know if you realized it, but all of you made mention that was, uh, um, in common, was not even the simple fact of a father being important, but the presence. Why the presence should be there. Brother Grimes making mention, okay, my mom was wise enough to still make us present around men. Brother Rick saying, you know what, I had men that was there. Brother Jalik understood, man, I wanted just to, go play catch. Because sometimes as well, I don't, some don't realize, especially in, I would say my generation, right? They think they could unlame themselves by, here it is, you're giving a kid a $2,000 shirt, $300 shoes, $500 belt, goggles, and whatever, and talking about, yeah, my kid got that money now, but not realizing all that kid just want to do play catch.
Hmm.
Like, can
Yeah.
you imagine how you could feel?
Yeah.
You can go to school. Hey, what did you do today, brother Jordan? Oh, I played catch with my dad. What did
Mhm.
you do? Oh, man. Oh, my dad, he was just, he bought me these new Jordans at least, right? Right, man,
Mhm.
And that kid starts to, man, why doesn't my dad want to play catch with me? It's those simple stuff, because something that could be done 50 years ago, you keep with you 50 years later. Which
Mhm.
leads to my next question, for you all. Now that we, jot down the importance of why a man is there, and a man should be there, and the presence. But the question now to say, because with this man up, that is being placed, why? And no kid or no child should ever have any issues asking this. So I'm going to pose the question: why should we trust, men that now want to take on? So, for instance, with this right here, why should a young brother want to trust you, Rick? Why should a young brother want to trust you, Jimmy? Why should a young brother want to trust you, Brother Grimes? Why should a young brother want to trust you, brother? Like, why? All right, we got the man up. I get it. It's important. But why should I trust you? Because and I make mention to that because I don't know if y'all, known some folks who would just let anybody around their kids. Let anyone watch their kids. Whether that one smoke, drink, cuss out, got woman in and out. Hey, you watching my kid? You watching my kid? Yeah, son, he may be giving you advice on how to pimp, but don't worry, son. At least he's watching you, right? So why is it that a kid should be able to trust? And I'm not even talking just for kids in truth now. We're talking about, say there's some sinners watching this. Say, all right, I see y'all man up. I know Pastor Jennings preaching the truth. Why should I trust you? You know how the mother's gonna be. Why should I trust y'all with my son? Why don't I trust? Why shouldn't I trust the one who is raising my kid to know how to have different women around? Why shouldn't I? Why should a young brother now, like, or a young kid, whether they're growing in truth right now or in the world, why should they trust us? Why?
Well, I'll say this. First of all, I think kids are very observant, first of all, right? So they have to observe you and see a reason why they would want to talk to you. I wouldn't expect for a kid just to jump off the bat and just say, "Oh, I'm Brother Rick," that they're gonna gravitate towards me, right? I would think that if they observe me, if I got a chance to talk to them, or even if I haven't got a chance to talk to them, just to see how I move, that would probably be like a reason for them to gravitate towards me. Um, because like I said, initially they just see somebody, they just see a man, they might know my name or whatever, but you know, um, that's it. There's got to be a reason why they feel comfortable, and I would hope that through conversation, through this group, and what I'm saying will probably resonate with something in them, or stir up something in them, or help them, or encourage them to want to get a chance to know me, learn me, and things of that sort. But I wouldn't expect for them just to, off the bat, just want to, just be attracted to me. And not only the child, but the child's parent. Because even though we're talking about mentoring young men, that doesn't mean that some of the fathers might be in their lives. They might have some fathers in their lives. Then some cases it's, and I think most cases you will find out that it's just the mother, but in some cases the father is there. So I think all of them would want to play a role, because if my son was interested in talking to somebody or whatever, I would want to know him. I know his mother would want to know him. So we should all feel that, and I want him to feel comfortable enough, or want to know the reason why he feel an interest in getting a chance to meet this person or learn from this person. So that would be my explanation, is just hopefully by my behavior, my conduct, and what I'm putting out there, that it'll be something that will resonate with him, and that he feel comfortable enough, as well as his parent, his mom, or his guardian, or whatever.
I don't know, Rick. When they see you, Brother Rick, they gonna see you the holy Suge Knight. When they see how
Oh
big.
man, listen, bro, listen, listen. I'm old school, bro. I'm one of them type of parents that, when I tell you to sit down, sit down. I don't believe in that running around and all this other kind of crazy stuff. So that's just the way I was brought up. This is a different period in time where you got a lot of parents. A lot of parents then got slack, man. Like when I was growing up, um, wherever you did it, that's where you got it. Right? And when I say got it, I mean that's where you got a beating. I ain't talking about no spanking. Some people probably got spanked on the hand. I used to get whippings, brother. And I know I can't whip nobody else's kid, but I will redirect them or put them in place.
Mhm.
And it's just I just can't stand to see wild loose children, man. But
Mm,
and it's also because I care. I like to see our young men and our young women conduct themselves and know how to act, know how to behave. Because you're representing your parents when you go out. Also, you representing the church. If you attend church, they want to know, about your parents and where you come from and things of that sort. And they know you go to First Church. You should represent the church as well. And with that being said, I don't want to come off like I'm perfect because I've made many a mistakes, brother, many a mistakes, and I'm so grateful that Pastor Jennings has taken our time to chastise me, to get on me, and get me back in order. So that's one thing I try and be more than anything is genuine and honest because I'm not perfect and I done did a lot of different things, but um, one thing about it, if I tell you something, I'm gonna tell you what's right. I'm gonna tell you what's right, and I'm gonna try and live by it as well. But like I said, I done made my mistakes, so I done got chastised too, and I'm thankful and grateful for that.
No, and pretty valid point. It's so within your take, it's time is going to reveal to that young brother, okay, I know I can trust Rick.
Mm,
I see, and I'm observing as well,
mm,
how he speaks, what he says. Is he
mm,
fake? Is he a fraud? Right? Is
mm.
he all Mr. Rick? I'm on the photography team, but now behind closed door, he cursing me out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He got he got Sabrina and Tiffany to the side. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Like, what's going on, Rick? I thought you said you was about this, man. Come on, man.
But Sundin, you think
Yes,
about it
sir.
though, a lot of the boys they're gonna gravitate to men anyway.
Yeah.
Gangs, you look at it,
Hmm.
they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
find some man to follow it,
That's right.
and you don't even have to. You can just let them go, let them run. They're gonna find something, and most of the
Hmm.
time it's gonna be something that they shouldn't follow. A
Mm,
gang member, or they're watching TV and they're going to gravitate to a rapper and
mm,
something that's degrading themselves and degrading women. Is so to have men that's saying, "Hey, we want to steer them in the right direction." That's I mean you can't beat that because they're going to find some man anyway to follow, and
That's
that's
right.
that's a given.
That's true.
Yeah, but and then in terms of what you're saying is completely true. But why should they, as Rick answered him, in terms of yourself, Brother Grimes, why should these young kids that are tuning in or not just in truth but outside of truth, why should they trust? What is your take on why they should trust you? Because I'm not gonna lie, from my experience, some they have not come off the bat in that manner, but you can tell it's like within action, mom is saying, this one is coaching and so forth. Yeah, even with that, like if somebody's training you in basketball or in football, those parents have to trust that this coach knows what he's talking about. And
Hmm.
if a parent has some degree of knowledge of that sport, and I see they're taking a football and trying to throw it like it's basketball, then that parent's gonna be like, I don't know if this coach know what he's talking about. I don't know, something wrong with this coach. I don't think we could trust him. So why should these kids trust us, Brother
Well,
can
Grimes?
I can I
yeah, go
hold
ahead,
on
Brother Jordan.
Go ahead, brother.
hold
Go
on,
ahead. Go
John.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Can I interject on this one? I guess what I would probably say is, what is your definition of trust? Because at some way, at some point, you trusted your friend to give you the right advice, but they didn't, and you ended up getting in trouble, or whatever the situation was. You trusted someone from the street, and that may not have turned out the way you wanted it to. So that would be my thing. Is like, how do you define trust, and
Hmm.
where can we meet in that common ground to say, okay, you may not trust me right now, but I know that trust has to be earned because in my 40 years of living, I had to build trust with people. Some of
Hmm.
that trust was broken, but it doesn't mean that I can't go back and try to learn how to trust again. So a lot of youth, they end up trusting people and they end up getting hurt. Even us as men,
Oh yes.
we get we get so involved, or we learn to trust someone, and then they end up breaking that trust.
Yes.
So it's like, as a man, it's like, how much can how much can you take with letting your trust out there? And then it turns us into what you see in society today, is a lot of just angry men because they've been hurt by so many different people. So that would be my take, is like, okay, I understand you don't trust us because of whatever happened in your life, whatever you had to deal with. But what is your definition of trust? And let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. And then maybe I can change your perspective on whether or not you can trust me. But if you can't trust me, I know there's brothers here that you can trust. You just got to be willing to open that door to talk to the brothers, or have the brothers go and talk to the youth. You know what I mean? Because the youth today, and and my not in my experience, but from things that I've seen, it's when you come across real men, because they're not used to seeing real men, they don't know how to approach it, or they don't know how to approach a man, and they may think that, oh, that man, he's corny because he ain't doing X, Y, and Z like the world is doing. So you gotta kind of soften that image, not to the point to where they become overly fixated on you, but soften that image and say, hey, look, man, I'm just like you. I know what it was like when I was 9, 10, 11, 15 years old, 16, whatever age it was. I know what that's like. And I know that you've been through some things. Now, are you going to be able to trust me 100%? Probably not, but we're going to get there. You know what I mean? So that's just my take on that.
And before you hop in, brother Grimes, what you said there is so true. And I've always wondered, why is it that, well, what they call us, we're corny, lame,
Hmm.
squares, whatever the case. It always seems it's us. I can't trust you. I don't want you. But the ones who's out there, I'm saying, thugging or pimping, whatever the case may be, oh, take me with open arms. Take me, and I put it in myself, where, is it because that person's not lying about their lifestyle? Is the reason why they trust that gangbanger or thug, whatever is out there, and versus the one who is actually striving here? Is it that they feel like something is hidden, and I don't want to be broken by finding out what it is? Because you have to admit, even just within the word church, people don't even want to hear that word no more. That's why
Hmm.
that's why I truly give God thanks for our leader, teacher, and guide, because he's showing y'all, nah, that's the devil's church over there. What was going
Hmm.
on ain't got nothing to do with God, right? But people didn't know at the time. Like, here it is, you have people who have trusted church people to really nurture their kid, and here they rape their kid. You
Yeah.
had some moms who really trusted that pastor or minister or whatever the case is to really help this kid, and here he was grooming the kid. So now when people just hear the word, all right, these are men. Well, hold on, these are men in church.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You know what I'm saying? These church people out here, they,
Yeah.
so it's such a sensitive, topic just when some hear the word church. So that was a valid
Mm-hmm.
point in terms of what you made there, brother Jordan, in terms of, some are gonna trust that friend, and some will trust that friend over and over and over. Like,
Mm-hmm.
really, brother, you're doing 25 to life. You still trust
Yeah,
him?
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
You know
craft.
what? I'm sorry. I think the question is, what is it? Um, what makes them trust certain people? If
Yeah.
you think about it, like what makes kids trust certain people? And I think one of the reasons is because it's the image that they portray, or maybe it's something about them that makes them want to be like them. Because I'm just even thinking with myself when I was younger, like I said, I had strong, good men. Some of them was in church, some of them wasn't in church. So it wasn't like I didn't know right from wrong. But I was also influenced by the characters that you see on television. I was influenced by rappers and stuff like that. So sometimes I think it's this persona of how you want to be or how you want to present yourself or how you want to look in the eyes of others. Because I did some things that I didn't have to do. I wasn't in a position where I just had to do it, but because of that image, I'm like, let me do this, let me do that. And something even like you were saying, because sometimes these kids can get burnt from trusting people, but then they continue to do it. They continue to just make dumb moves. And I think, I don't know, we was discussing in a meeting that we had, it's something how a parent can tell you something and it's solid, good information,
Mm-hmm.
Then a child that don't know half of what the person has given you the solid information tell you something, and you look at that as the holy grail. That's
Mm-hmm.
edged in stone. That's it. Let me follow this. And then you end up getting messed up, turned out, whatever, because you followed something that didn't even make sense. And it's not like you don't know or you not have been taught. So I don't know. That might be even something to even think on, because some kids are just influenced um, by other kids, and they're kids themselves. So I mean, how are you going to
Yeah.
look at somebody that don't know anything and reference them as a beacon of light?
Yeah.
you know.
And on top of that, you got I and in my opinion, and not in my opinion, but I think part of it is the reason. And I thought about this like a couple days ago because I'm a big well, let me rephrase that. Just over the last couple of years, I've been a man that tries to hold not only myself accountable, but trying to hold others accountable as well. And, I think that accountability kind of falls into that, them falling in love with that persona because it's like, oh, I can do all the wrong I want and I'm not going to be held accountable. Oh, of course I'm going to listen to you because you're not correcting my ignorance, you're not correcting, my mindset. So I think accountability plays a big part in that, to piggyback off of what you said, to kind of go with what you said, brother Rick.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Brother Grimes and Brother Julie, y'all could just hop in, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, come on now.
I'm gonna hop in and I'm gonna say when y'all two brothers were talking, it made me think about the word comfort. We as people like what's comfortable. And that's go around the board, not just for young brothers. So you attract the people that you feel comfortable around. You just think about what you were saying when we first started about how uh, you look at your father as the authoritative one, the one who's going to be stern, and he's going to be he going to take that authority. Well, when you're trying to do the wrong thing, you don't want to go to nobody who's going to tell you, son, you shouldn't do that. Son, come down here and come over here and sit down. Nah, you want somebody to say, hey, let's go on over there and have us a good time. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm telling you, hey, they gonna be out tonight. You coming? Yeah, man, I'm coming. So
I,
uh,
I, I see you still got them moves up your sleeve, though,
all
now,
right
right?
now.
Uh-oh.
Hey, hey, look, I might be trying not to do it, but I ain't forgot. I ain't forgot. I ain't forgot. No, sir. But for real, on the real note, though, it's a level of comfort. You don't we especially this world teaches us to not go with what's right. It teaches us that. And so as you're growing up, especially when you're taking stuff from TV and you're taking stuff from what you see in the streets, most people ain't trying to do right. Most people are making it their business to do wrong. So when you see that and you see how much fun they have in doing wrong, and then you see somebody doing right who is struggling, and you just everywhere they turn, it's always something. I mean, just look at our apostle and all the stuff he going through. Who through that? Who
Right.
wants to go through the hurt that he's gone through? Who want to go
Mm-hmm.
through? I mean, the man said that he dying on his feet. Who want to go through that? Who chooses? You know what? I'll take that. No, you want to go. You want to go with what's comfortable. You want to. You might want to smoke your cigar, smoke your weed. You ain't. But so that's what attracts you to those type of people is because you are looking for a level of comfort.
That
Yeah,
Wow,
makes sense.
he's
So if you
saying
that's a
think
something
big
about
point.
that's true.
Yeah, that make a whole lot of sense because, like you said, I mean, like nobody didn't wanted to be corrected when you was out there. Like if I seen you smoking and I like, look, son, stop smoking. They don't want to hear that. They want somebody to encourage them to keep smoking, even though
Mm-hmm.
it's detrimental and
Yeah.
even though it's consequences. And it's not until you meet those consequences then that you be wanting to be like, oh, I should have listened, and let me do this over or whatever, if it's not too late.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the times, people they want to be pampered in the wrong that they're doing because they feel good about what they're doing. You just imagine, we talking to young men and telling them, stop smoking, stop drinking, stop fornicating. Man, unless God is working with them or and working on their minds and heart, they're gonna be looking at you cross-eyed. They're gonna be
That's
looking
right.
at you like cockeyed. Learning what are
Mm-hmm.
you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
What tip you on? But as a father, and I'm so glad, and because Pastor has said this many a times, you know, um, and I'll make reference to Pastor Jennings a lot of times because I learned a lot from him. You're not their friend. I'm not your friend, I'm your father. It's a difference. When I tell you
Mm-hmm.
something is for your best, I'm telling you something to help you and to lead and guide you and erect you into being something better and better than how I was.
That's
That's
right.
what your goal is. You want your kids to be better than you while you're
Mm-hmm.
growing as well too. But you want to give them good information. So I'm not going to side with you and then be like, "Oh, that's cool," and let you keep doing that. No, I'm not going to tell you that, and you're not going to get that from me. And if that bothers you, then it's a choice that you're going to have to make because you will never get that from me. And that's just a stance that I think men have to take. That's in that position, or that we're really trying to lead and guide the young men or whatever. Is just we got to tell them what's right. Then the ball is in their court. It's up to them what they do with it.
And I also, for so long, I think the devil's just controlled the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So on television, so powerful. They say it's programmed. They're really programming kids to
Mm-hmm.
think this is success, doing it this way. So they're going to gravitate to what they see as successful in their eyes. So going back to that question you asked, we have to be an example of of holiness. And one thing I love about Pastor Jennings is, he has been a great example of holiness, and he's not afraid. He's doing it like a man. He's winning, and that's one of the things that made me want to follow Pastor Jennings. When you saw those debates, how he took the word and he just smacked Muslim out the way, smacked Jehovah's Witness out the way, just killing them.
Mm-hmm.
That is what men need to see. They need to see people taking the word, living it, and winning. And God is not going to fail. So
That's
he's
right.
going to win anyway if we just live it and be following the example that we're getting from the teaching and even Pastor Jennings. We are going to win. And some of the things that people say you can't do, God will bless you to do. And I always take my testimony and I tell it everywhere I go. My wife and I, we have 8 kids. And when we first got married, people were telling us, you got to have one or two and stop because the economy was bad. And at that time, I think it was the George Bush or the Obama first era. And we went into a recession. But taking the gospel, taking the word and applying it, God still gave me success. And here I am now, 8 kids. And a lot of people will say, well, he must have been doing something. People have driven by my house to see if I was growing weed in my backyard. That's how crazy it
My
is.
word.
My
But
goodness.
I'm just thankful, if we give God the glory, if we follow the teaching, we are going to have success. And that's one of the things Minister Lodge preached on at one of the men's sessions. He talked about, how to prosper and have good success. And we just got to follow the teaching. When they see that success, it's going to break up the narrative that, only the drug dealers get to have a good life, only the basketball players. We could have a good life. Yes, we're going to suffer, because football players suffer. Football
Hmm.
players going to get
Yeah.
injured. They're going to get hurt.
Hmm.
Rapper going to get shot.
Yeah,
They're going to go to
that
jail.
way.
And we going to have our trials too, but we will
Sure.
have success. So we just got to kind of break down that narrative and,
Yeah,
just live it.
that's right.
We ain't
May I
suffering
add?
out here. Go ahead now. Go ahead now. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was going to say, I just wanted to add to it and say I was going to say that this opportunity, having this group, gives us a chance to show them that you can have a good time in holiness. Yeah, we're striving for holiness. Yeah, we're striving to live right, but we can have a good time just like we're having this conversation. I'm having a wonderful time, and we and we ain't, we're not. Nobody has any beer. Nobody has any. We ain't got no cigarettes running around, but we having a genuine conversation. And basically, with us having this program, it teaches the brothers that you can have a good time in truth. We can have a good time talking to brothers about real situations, because what you're going to get from us is we're striving for truth, so you're going to get the truth. You're gonna get that. We're striving for that. Now, we not saying that we perfect or anything, but we're striving for it, and that's what you're gonna get if you join this group. You're gonna get us striving for truth, and us trying to get you to see to us giving you an example to see what striving for truth looks like, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I just wanted to make mention of one thing Brother Rick said earlier. You have some, of course, they do not want to be corrected at all, but I was those ones at a young age. Now being in truth, I'm asking myself, why wasn't I corrected on such and such? I guess it's maybe being in, a false way, because one thing for me, I was an entertainer. Like whatever, you can't ask me what type of song I listened to. Whatever came on, I was just gonna entertain you with that song. And so here I am entertaining people, doing all my dancing, foolery, and all this stuff like that, nah.
Hmm.
And it's like, okay, I didn't know I was doing something wrong. So why didn't y'all say something? Well, we was laughing and well, what? Well, you mean to tell me you knew I was, not supposed to be doing what I was supposed to be doing, and you still did not say and reference anything to it. So I would have, I guess, maybe being as an athlete, you inherit, like, to be a good one, you inherit correction, as a player, because you want to go far, as an
Mhm.
athlete. And I guess I inherited that as a human. But no, in terms of what Rick and the rest of y'all said, most don't want to. Like, I don't know if you have ever met, a kid before, but maybe, as an athlete, it's so disgusting when you can't tell them nothing. Here they'll make a bad pass. Because me growing up, it was soccer what I played. You know what Americans know as soccer, but the islands or the country call it football. you know. But when you meet those athletes, or you can't, here they do a bad pass, they do a bad shot, you can't tell them nothing. And it's like, you get to a point where, look, I'm not even gonna want to be involved with you. And then you meet the parents, and they're like, oh, okay, it makes sense now why you think it's like that. And you could just realize, if you stay that way, you're not gonna go far as an athlete, because you're gonna get to an actual coach or somebody who's not gonna accept that extra money your parents are paying and say, look, you take you and your son's attitude and get out of here, because he's not coming on my team. So it's
Hmm.
the same way I find it to be in life, where this generation, I don't know what it is. It's pretty. They want comfort. They don't want to be told no. They don't want to
Mhm.
be corrected in a certain. stance. And when you do correct them and you tell them the right thing to do, okay, it's like a disappointment. Not realizing, yo, this finna help you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna do jail time. You're not going to die, or you know, the God gonna kill you however he is, but you're not gonna put it where it's you put yourself in that position to
Right.
deserve to die, or get you in a a bad spot. You know, so which leads
So
now with a
Sundin,
kid.
can I say
Go
something,
ahead, man.
Sundin?
Yes, sir.
You made me think of something, and I wish Mark Moretti. I hope he hear this really good. This is why the older athletes, such as Michael Jordan, is better than the new athletes,
Oh my.
LeBron James.
Oh
John,
my.
John, what are you
Wow.
doing,
This
John?
is why,
What are you
because
doing, John?
Wow. I didn't
John,
know
what are
we
you
was going
doing?
there.
No,
I didn't know
look,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
I
know we was
agree
Doing?
gonna
with
take
him.
a turn
you
for
don't
the
have a good
worse.
Yeah,
point.
the old school, the
I
ones
didn't
that
know
put
this
in
was
that
gonna
work,
take a turn for
that
the
had that
worse.
work
Uh,
ethic.
Yeah.
I didn't know this was gonna take a turn for the worse, y'all.
No,
That's
it's
all
going
right. It
it's
didn't
going
take a
My
good.
turn for the worse. That's
You
just
good.
the truth of it.
Go ahead,
my
Bram.
word. No,
Go ahead, Bram. Go ahead. Go ahead. I know exactly what you're gonna say. It is gonna
but
be
mm,
exactly equivalent to this point. Go ahead. Go ahead.
but the older athletes, they were willing to work and suffer, and they played harder. They gave it their all. Versus the newer athletes, they're kind of expecting you to call every foul.
yeah,
You
they
know,
mm,
divas. They
they're a
divas.
little bit more softer than the. I can't believe I'm saying, but then the older athletes, and it's actually just a reflection of the times. Everybody, everything has gotten softer and more entitled. And if we compare ourselves to those old school guys, those old school men they would work from sun up to sundown, their hands blistered. And here we are, we have it so much easier and we don't appreciate it. So uh, I just had to throw that in there. I had to throw that jab at Mark.
No, I'm
But you
glad you
know what?
mentioned that.
You
Go
know
ahead,
what?
Rick. Go ahead, Rick. Go ahead.
That's a good point because if you think about it, a lot of people don't like honesty, man.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they don't like for you to be honest and really tell them the truth. They want you to
Hmm.
tell them something to encourage them. Just like the example that you was talking about, telling the kids it was a good pass when it wasn't. Stop doing that. It was a
Stop doing
bad
it.
pass. And then they
That's
have
right.
this other thing where they were saying you can't, nobody should come in first place. Everybody should come in first place. Everybody shouldn't come in first place.
Oh
Mm-mm.
That's
God.
why you got somebody that's
mm,
better than the other one. That's the person that deserves first place.
Mhm.
And it's like even with the example of the athletes, you put in work, you work hard, you dedicate yourself, and hopefully you will get those results. I mean, some people it came naturally, some people it just they had to put the work in, but you had to do something to get to that next level. People want stuff instantly and easily now. And they don't want to put in the work. They don't want you to tell them nothing. They don't want you to redirect them. They don't want you to instruct them. They just want it instant. And it don't work like that. It don't work like that. So you have to be the one that just like, I'm going to tell you like it is. Do what you want with it to the parent, to the kid, whoever. And just being perfectly honest because I'm thinking if they trust you enough for you to train their child or be there in their life, they're going to expect for you to tell them what's right. Well, I would hope they would think what you tell them is what's right. But even on the other hand of that, if you think about it, some of the parents are just like the kids. They don't like to be told the truth either.
Mm,
But you just it's a
mm.
choice that you have to make. I think you just said tell them the truth.
No, I'm so glad y'all mentioned that because growing up as an athlete and seeing the difference between generations, we're talking about man up and having a man in these kids' lives and to help them. Where I see the fault in a lot of these kids or these athletes today into what we're doing is not only has it been easy, but it's the generation of men, as you said, it got weaker. Because think
Mm,
about it. You have so many athletes. You're a doctor. Someone actually needed surgeon or whatever the case is. Maybe you're a top surgeon, maybe making just over $1 million a year. You could have a athlete that will never win a championship in his life, sign a $200 million contract. Here, he didn't win nothing. All it is, you're an entertaining player. You're a good player. What some don't know, Michael Jordan made $36 million in his basketball career. The rest of it was on the outside. And the thing is, when you look at it today in terms of comparison for the kids, back then, you know, these men will tell these kids, look, you're gonna have to get out there and get it. You know, they made it challenging for them to go out there and get it because this is what the reality is going to be. Today, the parents today, the kid could absolutely do nothing all day, and the parent will say nothing. A boy could be inside, or a daughter, or whatever, they could be inside the house, do nothing all day, no dishes, no chores, no nothing. And but they're at home. Back in the day, listen, you ain't working today, so who's gonna do them dishes? Or them dishes ain't done. Who's gonna mow the lawn? Who's gonna take out the trash? And it's like today, the generation. That's why I said the presence of man up is so important, because you got to tell that kid, look, son, you know, I love you and all, but you're gonna get these chores done. I don't care what Bobby, Rick, or Chubby at school be telling you, talking about they get paid to do an allowance. You ain't getting paid for nothing. You're gonna go do the dishes and you're gonna get them done now. If you don't get them done, watch what happens. You know, you got threatened, you got something.
Yeah.
But today, it's just like, all right, it's okay, don't do nothing. And little by little, it got weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker, which is, you know, and I get it. People are like, well, you know, what this got to do with basketball is it relates to exactly what man up is, where you have some, they actually, you can't tell a kid now today, you have to work hard to get it, because then they're going to say, well, my friend makes $20,000 a month on TikTok, dad. Well, all they have to do is chaka chuki cookie play, and they hear $20,000.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? But now
Oh
it
yeah.
comes to say, well, look, I get it, but here we're in holiness. Not to say we can't be on TikTok, but you may not be able to make that same money that your friend makes from TikTok. That's where you see how holiness just comes in the middle, and just,
Yeah.
you know, it gives you a sucker punch to say,
Oh yeah.
well, all right, I get it. You know, your friend may be, you know, a club promoter making $5,000 a week, but aren't you not forgetting what, you know, where, you know, this is right now?
Yeah,
You like,
holiness got some stipulations.
there you go. And what,
Yeah,
no, which
that's
is what
true.
is so important, because that's what makes, and you know, for those watching and listening, that right there shows the importance of this man up program, of this man up establishment. Because another man, if that kid comes to him and say, yo, I'm making 5 racks a week, what you doing? Man, I'm just a club promoter. Hey man, go about your business. But here it is. Now you have men striving to please the Lord, keeping the Lord first. Hey, Jalik, man, hey, I'm making 6 racks a week, man. Yeah, bless up, man. What you doing, man? You know, I'm just doing my little club promoting stuff. Oh,
Mm,
well, there it is.
my word.
But Jalik, what you talking about, man? What's going on? Well, you know, being though in truth, unless you know the church name changed to club, we can't be promoting that being in holiness. Well, what you mean? And now that kid faces the fact, like, man, this you're telling me 6 bands? Come on, Julie could have at least told me that 2 years later. But because being in this way, and if you fear God, which you know I believe we all here do, you know what I'm saying? I hope, or it's all God. We have to now let that kid know, say, look, nah, I get the club promoting, you work once or twice a week to make that 6 bands, but look, I got a job for you. You can make 6 bands a month. You may have to be up 6 in the morning, and you may be done 6 in the evening. Hey, that's what we can get for. And now they're like, I gotta do that to make 6,000, and I'm taxed on that $6,000. This just. But that's what it is. You're gonna have to man up. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to. And here it is. One thing I love what my mom did. My mom doesn't even realize that she put a button in me that day. I used to be the paper boy. I took the whole block. Like I was doing papers for the whole entire block. I was so like Haitian parents, you better be dead if you're gonna say you're not going to school. You know, you better be like literally you can't breathe. Like You can't say to them that you're not going to, like, something better be wrong. And, school was done and whatnot. And I was so sick. Like, I was so down. I felt so bad, so down. My dad wasn't home at the time. So just my mom's like, no, you're going to have to go. I thought my mom was going to be like, it's okay, poo. You go ahead and I'll do these paper. What she taught me that day is, look, it don't matter if you're sick. It don't matter if you have a sore knee. It doesn't matter if, your ankle's twisted. It doesn't matter if going through life troubles or you're depressed, whatever the case may be. You have to wake up the next morning and go and work. I was maybe like grade 9 or grade 10, maybe grade 8. At that she had no idea that her making me go work that day while I was feeling so sick, the seed that it put inside me. And that's what I'm saying is missing today. Today, that kid could just say, I don't feel like going to work. The parent gonna be like, well, okay, just call in sick. Back then, well, look, that's too bad. You still won't go. Plain and simple. Well, mom, I'll do the dishes late. Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you you have to do these dishes now? And now with that man that comes into their life, which leads to my next question before we conclude. When that man comes in, or that man is there, established into their life, one thing that I say is these young boys, they know who they respect. Just like in school, have you ever heard, you know, don't raise your kid as a supply teacher? I don't know if you ever heard that saying, but pretty much when a supply teacher would come, we all taking advantage of that. I mean, that's what it was in my time.
Oh, you talk about a substitute teacher.
Oh, yeah, substitute. We call it supply, but a substitute teacher. Yeah,
Like
you know what I'm saying?
supply teacher.
Well,
What
I guess
is
that's that
Supply
Canadian.
teacher.
I guess that's that Canadian and American different. We say
Mm.
substitute over here too, but we're common of saying supply teacher. But over here, when we would hear that there's a substitute teacher, oh, we gonna
oh yeah,
wild out.
we going
We go,
crazy.
oh my. But the moment that substitute teacher actually wrote our names down and gave it to the actual teacher, we knew we knew we was in for it.
Mm-hmm.
So to I guess to conclude, finish off with this respect. How does Man Up advocate respect for these young brothers? And what I mean in terms of that question is, it's some feel as though they can talk any way, shape, or form to a youth, right? Not realizing this youth, they're human as well. Not to say you gotta go on their level. You know what I'm saying? If they come into you and say, what's up? You ain't gotta go say what, you know what I mean? But it's how does Man Up advocate respect to say, look, young boy, you're much younger than me, but this is how it's gonna pan out. This is how, things get done. How does that boy adapt to know that, even though you're 50 something years old, brother Rick, man, brother Rick, he respects me. And it's something I've heard common with, the man of God. It's when people finally meet him outside of the pulpit, they're like, man, he not the same at all. He said, yeah, he's just really, he's down to earth. So he's telling me he's not yelling at people in the no, he chilling. So many people not realizing being on that pulpit, it's no joke time, And when the anointing's on you, you preaching the word of God, and now when you meet the person in actual real life, no pops is not telling you, "Am I right? I say," and all this and stuff like that. He's talking to you like a human being. So how does Man Up advocate that respect for these young, boys, whether they're growing up in truth and outside of truth? When one will come in this way, where could they see and realize they say, man, these brothers, they're much older than me, but I truly see the respect, the way they talk to me. They don't look down upon me. They don't neglect me. They don't compare me. Comparison.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole other topic. That could be a whole
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
another topic for something else. When you
Mm-hmm.
compare, but we'll get to. We will save that for another day. We will save that for another.
Mm-hmm.
So how
Yeah,
does Man Up?
that'll be like episode 4 in the series.
Because comparison, listen, comparison has destroyed
Yes.
many young. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. So how does Man Up advocate respect for these young ones?
I think Sundin, men, even young boys, they respect realness. That's why you don't see so many men in church, because they could spot that preacher is a fake. They could spot it out. So they're like, you know what? I'm sick of this. I ain't going here, that man. He phony anyway. So I think with Man Up, just seeing realness, just raw, 100% real. That's my take.
Yeah. And then he'll tell you in a language to where and then oftentimes it'll be told to you in a language that you can understand. Also I would add, in these false churches, they, most of the time you don't understand what they're saying because they're using all these big words. But we got an apostle who will come down. You don't have these, and I got to make an example. You know that. Our apostle ain't out here talking about some. And I just praise God, and I thank God who He knows how good I am to Him, and I cometh forth over that. And we ain't got nobody doing all that, man. We saying
No.
get right or go to hell.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the fact.
Yeah.
That's facts.
One of these two things. You can either get right and do it like God say do it, or there's another option, because either way you're gonna get paid. So I think,
Facts.
like you said, that level of realness, man. Somebody who just gonna be honest. Ain't nothing like having an honest person. Now, oftentimes, sometimes I know I can't speak for everybody else, but I speak for me. You run from that because most of the time I know I be wrong. And so when that honest person come around and be like, now you know what you did was wrong. Now you know you shouldn't have done that. I'd be like, dang, he right. Dang, gummit, he right. So that's what you get. You get, and then you also got to think about it too. We are following, we following holiness. So we trying to teach y'all, but we trying to apply the same stuff that we teach y'all to ourselves. And
Right.
you got to remember that. Like, we're not just telling you something based off of I know that old saying, what them old folks used to say. I ain't telling you. I wish I could remember. It's on the tip of my tongue. Dang, what it is.
You may remember at 1 a.m. in the morning.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They say I ain't telling you what I done heard. I'm telling you what I done experienced. Like,
Right.
most of the stuff that these kids are going through, like I know what it's like to be a mentee. I know what it's like to yearn for a connection with the man and have that connection be fulfilled by what he done taught you, and what you're able to take from him, and also what you're able to learn from him. Like, I know what it's like. So yeah, I can understand like your mindset, because each one of us, whether we had a mentor or not, had the same mindset that you haven't, young brother. We had the same mindset. So you tried to sell ice to an Eskimo.
Facts.
So that's my perspective on that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Rick, Jordan, yes, sir.
I'm sorry, Sunday. My phone had went out for a minute. What was the question that you had posed?
Yeah, no. So to conclude, the question was, how does Man Up advocate respect for these young boys who are going to be coming into this? Meaning, I gave the example with Pass. So many are used to seeing him on the pulpit, but then once they actually meet him, like in person, they're like, oh my, it's like a different human being. It's like you don't
Right.
even recognize that this man was on, the pulpit and so forth.
Right.
But and he's down to earth, he's honest and so forth. So how does Man Up advocate that respect where these young boys will be able to come in and say, you know what, though Rick is much older than me and Jordan and Brother Grimes and Jalik and so forth, these brothers, they really respect me. Like, they really, hear me out. They're not neglecting me. And I made mention they're not comparing, but comparing, that could be a conversation for another time, as comparison that has destroyed a lot of kids when you've compared them to somebody else. But yeah, how does man up, advocate respect for these, young ones? Brother Grimes made mention of just keeping it real. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And along the lines of Brother Jalik saying the same thing, because that's what we're under. We're
Mm-hmm.
under a man who's gonna tell you like it is, regardless of who you are, which is actually a beautiful thing when you think of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like regardless if you're his kid, his cousin, his brother, or you've been
Mm-hmm.
there. Like, look, Rick is a perfect example. Rick has been there for years. Sure,
Mm-hmm.
I never heard Rick ever said, "Oh yeah, Pastor." You know what I'm saying? He let me slide. You know what I'm saying? He let me. Oh, nah. In fact, he's grateful for the correction. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
Yeah.
it's truly like when you really sit down and think about it, that is a blessing to know
Oh
we have
yeah.
someone that he's gonna tell you, look, son, nah,
Mm-hmm.
you do this, you going to hell. So you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
Papa, I can't have a second wife, man? Come on, man. Come on. I'm with Jezebel right now. She tripping. Look, son, you cannot have a second wife. So that was the question to conclude. How does man up advocate respect, for and to these young boys?
I'm gonna follow suit with everybody else, being real, being honest, being sincere, not projecting yourself to be something that you're not acting like you're holier than thou, because I think that's very important. Is that these young men, they're going to be sharing a lot with us, and we don't want to come off like, oh, and going in the Bible and all this other kind of stuff. We want to redirect them. We want to correct them. And in some cases, cases you just want to listen. So you want to listen and understand where they're coming from, and in a lot of cases, we'll understand where they're coming from because we did the same thing. So I think it's very important when you being honest and sincere and real is that you reflect back when you was in that age group. If not, some people might still be acting like that and they passed that age group. But one thing that I was thinking about is like being perfectly honest, because a lot of times, and I've thought about this because at one time they was talking, how they used to pass out condoms in school and stuff like that. And I'm just thinking, we don't do that, right? We tell them not to have sex. And I think a lot of times people be like, you got to give them that option. No, you don't. You don't have to give them that option. Some kids will respect the fact that you telling them not to do a thing. There's going to be a lot of kids that's not going to listen to you. That's just the way things goes. They either going to listen or they're not. But those that listen, that's one that you done won over because you told them what was right. It's up to them whether or not they do it or not, but you will gain a level of respect from them. And I think sometimes these kids want to hear you tell them what's right. Don't tell me what I want to hear. Tell me what I need to hear.
That's
And
right.
just and like you were saying, about Pastor Jennings, and a lot of times people look at Pastor Jennings from the perspective of him being in the pulpit. They don't know Pastor Jennings or PJ or Gino when you see him like in street clothes, hat turned to the back, talking to you just like one of the brothers, just like one of the brothers. He's just down to earth. He's gonna always keep the Bible before you, but he's not gonna keep it above your head and project himself in a way that you can't understand where he's coming from or understand what he's telling you. He's down to earth. He's going to tell you the right thing, but he's going to do it in a way where he can understand where you're coming from. You know, because he was a young man. He didn't experience things. He didn't went through things just like anybody else. And I think that's the way that we have to project ourselves is that we're learning and we're still growing ourselves. That's why if it's something that I can't discuss or I can't speak on or I don't know about it, I'm not going to tell them something just to make myself look like I'm knowledgeable. I'm gonna just leave that alone. And let me share something with you. This might be a little bit off track, but I work in mental health. And until this day, I'll never forget this. It was a little boy, he had to be about 10. I'm giving him 10. I think he was younger than that. He was like 9 or something like that. And he was a lookout boy for the drug dealers in his neighborhood. And he was spitting on some of my coworkers. And so one day I went up to him and I was talking to him. And I was like, man, what's the matter with you? I was like, why are you spitting on they grown? They up here trying to tell you what you should be doing. And man, this little boy, he sounded every bit of a 40-year-old that probably spent about 30 years of his life in prison. When he was talking about how he lived and the conditions that he lived in and what he was experiencing with his parents, man, I was looking at him. And, for the most part, at the end of a conversation, you want to give them a positive affirmation. But this kid was so detailed, so deep into what he was saying. I walked off, man. I just walked off. It wasn't because I'm thinking in my mind, this kid, I can't see a family member coming to rescue him. I can't see some loving couple coming to take him. So either he gonna get arrested or caught up, or he gonna get cut off. That's the way I was looking at him just based on that conversation. Now we know, of course, we know that with God all things are possible and his life can be changed around. But at that particular time and for that situation and that conversation, it wasn't nothing I could even say. I just walked off from that kid. And to this day, I still think about him. And I know that's been over 20 years. That's been a good a good 20 years. And I just wonder where he's at. But my point for saying that is that, sometimes these kids experience a lot. And some things, we as adults, we might not be able to to help them in certain situations. Just from my perspective, in certain situations. And I think that goes a long way. If you don't know, don't even touch it, don't even mess with it. If you can be a listening ear and try and encourage them, do that. But just want to be honest and sincere and straight up. If it's something that's above my head, of course I'm gonna point them to somebody that I think is more knowledgeable and wiser and have better understanding of the situation. And I think that goes a long way.
Hey,
I completely understand.
grandma said it like this. Grandma said it like this, now. She said, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it.
Mhm.
That's what grandma said. And then the crazy part about it is for us, we trying to drink that same water.
Yeah.
No, I completely understand, what you're making reference with that. And as long as you do what you can for that kid, I always say you can never ever go up in your life and said nobody told me so. Some may be able,
Mhm.
some maybe actually say, no, I never had no male figure or actual real one. And mom may say, what about Ray Ray? Well, Ray was teaching me how to sell drugs. What about Poon Poon? Poon Poon was telling me how to pimp. What about Con Con? Con Con was, trying to get me to do drugs, right? That kid could say they never had somebody. I don't know if y'all remember before, I get it over to Brother Jordan. I'll never forget. I don't know if y'all remember when Pastor had those inmate, like those former inmates come to
Oh
service
yeah.
for youth
Yeah.
convocation, and you know two that really, well, three that caught my attention. One was the first one. He committed murder at 13, but he was so high he didn't realize until later on. Still had to do the sentencing. The second thing that caught me was the Muslim who said, I grew up in a good home. Because that could even be a whole other conversation for a
Mhm.
whole other day. Like these kids, he grew up in a good home, as he stated. Because a conversation that could be is, what is a good home? You know what I'm saying? But third, what caught my attention was that one who said his dad would beat him if he was not doing the drugs properly. And I'm like, how do you get to a point in life where you're beating your own kid, your own son, because they're not spreading the drugs properly? Like, how do you come in that kid's, life to say, all right, we're going to see what we can do when my own blood father beat me because I was not putting the drugs properly? I've never heard something like that in my entire life. I've heard where they would be upset if the kid ever thought about touching the drug that the dad was selling or whatnot. But I'm beating you because you're not putting it properly and you're not putting the correct amount. So and I say this to say, as what brother, piggyback off brother Rick, there just may be things where if you have the resource to give to that kid, where I can help you, give it. But I believe it's, look, I can't help you with this, so I'm not gonna act like I can, because if I act like I can, I just may put you in a situation that's much worse than whatever it is you're in already, right? And to take that, you have to be humble, right? I'm humble enough to, I always let people know, though the experience I have, being with kids, I don't know it all. I have no problem going to another brother and saying, "Hey, good brother, ABC one two, can you help me out with this?" So humility has to take in place. If brother Rick could help me with something, I'm gonna let my son know. Yeah, like brother Rick, let's say you know how to drive a manual car, and I can't teach my son that. I'm not gonna tell my son, well, no, you're not learning how to drive stick. Should have let brother Rick teach you how to drive stick. Now coming to me in service, talking about I taught your son. No, if he's able to teach you, that's my brother, and I love him and whatnot. Let him teach you. Is that plain and simple? So it's gonna take that humility as well to say, I may not be able to give this to you, son. So yes, if brother Rick, you can go around and tell people, brother Rick taught you how to drive stick. You ain't gotta say, oh, uh, a brother in church taught me how to drive stick. No, just say brother Rick. So, but yeah, brother Jordan, you're the last one on the list. Tell us, how does man of advocate respect for these young brothers?
Well, again, agreeing with my brothers, Jalik, Ricky, and John. Obviously the first thing is, honesty. And in this last little bit, I'm probably going to throw a lot of old sayings at you, brothers. I'm 40 years old, but I've heard a few of them. Um, so there's that old saying, honesty is the best policy. If you can't be honest with someone about truth, and we are in truth, and we strive to follow our leader who's going to give us the truth, no matter if it hurts us. Obviously, as we all know, God don't have respect of person, so we can't have respect of person either. So, being honest with the young mentees, and even being honest with mentors, saying, look, man, you, like, in the situation where, or a situation where a young brother comes to a mentor and he divulges some information, and the mentor just holds on to it instead of just trying to get that young brother some help. It's gonna not gonna blame the mentor, but it's kind of like, look, man, you gotta get follow the right steps. Make sure that that young brother gets the help that he needs, and then leave it in God's hands on whether or not the young brother takes the help. Um, then there's that old saying, in order to get respect, you got to give it.
That's right.
And as speaking, you know, and it's kind of like you got to be respectful in speaking their language. And I don't mean like out there cursing and all that, but you got to talk to them and say, hey, look, man, if you want respect, you got to give me the same. You got to give me respect so that way I can give you something back so you can see what respect looks like. And then the other part of that is understanding, again, I'm a man of definition. What is your definition of respect? Because you can say, oh, man up is this, and you can think it's this, or you can think it's something else. But what is it? What do you think, or what is your definition of respect? Because not everybody's definition of respect is the same thing. Because some people think that being respectful is out there in the street yelling, screaming, going back and forth, when we know that you shouldn't handle yourself like that. You shouldn't handle business like that, especially if it's something that is, as they say, when you put your business out there on Front Street, then everybody knows your business. You know what I mean? So I think that's part of the aspect of the man up is to one, you know, define, not only help them define what respect is, but to be able to give that respect so that way they can understand what respect is while walking in truth. And then being able to reciprocate that respect to their mentor, to other brothers, even to sisters. I mean, that relationship between brother and sister, that's a whole nother, that's probably like episode 6, Sundin. I'm just saying. Um, but that's how I feel. I think, in a society where everything is backwards, I think it's time for men to man up and say, look, we not going to keep running back. We're not going to stand back anymore. We're going to come back to the forefront where we're supposed to be and be the leaders that we need to be for the youth. So that way they know how to give respect the right way. And that's it, man.
Wonderful, 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 wonderful. These were some wonderful takes. As y'all can see, watching and listening in, one episode, 5 episodes will come out right off the bat, just from the one, and the beauty with that, it just goes to show what type of conversation is being had. Because when wisdom is there, wisdom's gonna flow. And now it's just gonna make you ponder to say, all right, this could be, something else going forward. And talking is such an underrated thing today, but it
Yeah.
helps so much, right? To be able to come. I've always, seen it, where I'm from, it used to be multicultural, but it's a lot of Indians where I'm from. But one thing I've always seen with them, I always say this, and I always ask my mom, is like, why can't y'all black folk do this? Why can't you do this with your own family? Like, you know what I'm saying? You have your blood sister here. Never in my life have I ever heard y'all go for a little cup of coffee. But I see these Indians here, yes, they're in their crazy ways and whatnot, but I'm seeing them come together at the park and sitting there for hours just having a conversation. I'm seeing Chinese do it. I'm seeing all different other cultures do it. But what happened in terms of, yourself to get it done? And that's where it's like when I see these type of things, and when Haitian men come together, it's always either about politics or, talking about, like, as you would, the way they talk, you would think that they talk to Trump on the phone, like literally, you would think that they, you know, they will tell you everything that America's about to do, and it's like, do you have conversations with the president on the phone? Like, what's
Mhm.
going, but when it comes to actual just conversation, like if I were to tell some Haitian men, let's talk about you know how to express our love to wives, they're gonna laugh. They would seriously laugh at me. And so, not all, I'm saying, we got some in truth, but the most and the ones I grew up upon, right? So these things, these conversations, and as these brothers coming on, as you can see, to be able to, showcase who they are, what they're about, telling the truth, telling we don't know it all. We're learning as well, but we know where you've been, and we think we could help you out a little bit, So I'm truly grateful and thankful and excited, for this to be not only of the fact that we're only going to be helping, brothers in this way of holiness, but hey, we're leaving the door open for, if you're not in this way of holiness, young sir, you're more than welcome to come and learn. You're more than welcome to come, because that's what it is. People have to understand that our apostle, he's not an apostle just for us. Like if somebody just pull up on the street, sir, can I do this? Can I do? You can't just say, what temple you go to? Or you down there and say, oh, no, no, we don't roll that way, man. So how much have you tithed? How much you haven't tithed? And you think I'm gonna help you?
Mhm.
And what I'm saying is, you actually have some false churches like this.
Oh yeah.
Oh, but when you have, we have to, when we remember what God sent the apostle for, and it's to the world, now it's
That's
like,
right.
for us to be able to establish a help, we're not simply saying we're going to help those of you that are growing up already in this way of holiness, but this is for you who you may even tell us you have no intention to come in this way. All right, but at least you will come. You're gonna learn, And as time progresses, you never know. And which is, as we said, our intended, we're not going to be preaching to you. You're never going to come on and it's going to be Brother Jalik. Turn with me to the book of Psalms. What does it say there?
Hallelujah.
You know what I'm saying? You're not going to get that from us. We're gonna, talk. We'll do our due diligence and the best we can to help you, because that's all we can do. And pray that whatever, like for me, as I always say, if there's just one youth, just one, if God could just allow just one to truly say that they've been affected by this, that it's actually helped them, that it wasn't in vain, that they have, you know how it feels to be able to have somebody reliable to go to for advice. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
There's somebody right
Yeah.
now, they can't even do that. I mean, for y'all that are fathers, I mean, except Brother Jalik, you know what I'm saying? I don't know when that gonna be now, but you know what I'm saying? Except Brother Jalik now. But for those of you that have, your kids are much older, Brother Jordan Grimes and Brother Rick, like, just can you imagine that your sons and daughters, they actually have a man that they can come to? Like, when you realize how much of a blessing that is, somebody can't even pay for that right now. Somebody literally can't go out there and say, "Hey, is there a store where I can pay $1 million to get somebody like my dad? Like, can somebody?" But here it is. Though children, they're gonna have their ways to know that they have mom or that they have dad that they can actually go to. Man, it is, when I say that is a bless of ing, that is a bless ing, to know that you can come to that. You ain't gotta go to uh, 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 John, the football captain, who's gonna lead you astray. You know what I'm saying? For Brother Grimes and I believe Brother Jordan as well, who have the daughters to say, you know what, my dad, he put a standard for me, so he ain't finna come and play around and vula vouer. You know what I'm saying? To have his sons to say, you know what, yeah, y'all giving me this advice, but I'm gonna call my dad because I know, I know what my dad's in. Because when your kids really experience life out there and see the mess that's out there, they gonna realize, this way of holiness is a blessing. This way of holiness is truly a blessing. So when I see it as a blessing to have it, I'm truly grateful and thankful for you, brothers, for taking the time to come on and putting on for this first episode. Those of you watching and listening, sorry, those of you watching and listening, if this is something you've enjoyed, if it's something you want to see more over, let me know. And by God's permission, we're gonna have more of these. Now we're gonna have sisterhood stuff too. Don't worry, because I know y'all sisters love to talk. You know what I'm saying? Before you comment, they always having something for the men. They ain't got nothing for the say. I'm gonna have sister 1, 2 now. Relax, cool off. Are you settled? Relax. Are you calm now? All right, perfect, perfect. Don't worry, we're gonna get one. As much as we can. I'm gonna do my due diligence. As I said, that's the name of this podcast. I Thrive. We want you to thrive when we finish watching it. I don't want you to watch this and now you got the tea on Bob was actually sleeping with Sabrina and that. Nah, this is not what this is about. I want it to
Nah.
be where y'all be watching that. Oh man, they be talking about some good stuff, man. Yeah, bro. You heard about the man up now? Yeah. Oh, but I don't go to first church. No, no, no. They say they're taking young boys who's not in word. Okay, let me try. That's the upliftness that I want those to have. And as always, I just want to keep God first in all and everything I do. That being said, that concludes the very first episode of Men's Talk, Rap Session, whatever you want to call it. We spoke about the importance of man up, and of course, there's so much more that we can do. But I got I got one that's close to senior citizen soon, so what I'm saying, we got some that are up to time. What I'm saying, because Rick is not too far now. Rick ain't too far now.
Man, I got a minute, brother. Don't get it twisted now.
Hey, 65 is right up. 65 is right up.
Hey, they say once you hit 65, you get free transportation. Man, you get
Oh,
on the
yes,
bus for free. Sir, can I, sir,
Well, I'm some years
can I
off
take
from
your
that, so
can I
thank
take
goodness
your
for that.
cane? Can I take your cane, sir? Help you
Oh
get
my
up on that bus.
gosh.
No, Rick, it's
Hey,
getting there. It's getting there.
Hey
So
Rick, don't worry, bro. I got your back. Ain't you
that's
got some
there you
grass or
go,
something you
man.
gotta cut, bro? You
Uh,
know what I mean? Ain't you got some grass you gotta cut, young man?
hey, I'm having to teach these little young boys something, man.
Well, no, it really was the Michael Jordan comment that did it for me. That's all. It really was the Jordan comment that started this whole thing. So
Hey, that's truth right there,
anywho,
brother. I don't care what you say. That's the truth.
man.
That's the truth.
But no,
Oh
no,
man.
thank you so much, brothers. As y'all can see, yes, we're allowed to laugh in holiness as well, in case you did not know.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So I just have to put that out there. You know what I'm saying? Because when you start
yeah,
telling people of what you can't do, they almost start to
mm,
ask, like, can y'all drink water? Can y'all breathe?
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah,
like, are
yeah, yeah.
like,
That's
like,
true.
how do y'all have kids?
Yeah.
Well, the way we have kids is, we have to, meet a sister, and hopefully we can
Mm-mm.
marry her, and you know what I'm
man.
saying? Like, they don't just come from outer space, because when people
Yeah.
are so not used to hearing like the rules, they start to
Mhm.
wonder, like, man, what can y'all actually do? Like, man, so yes, we're allowed to laugh, we're allowed to, make some jokes and all that type of stuff, and still have a good time in this way of holiness. But that concludes the very first episode of Man's Talk Rap Session on the I podcast. Lord's will, we're gonna have more to come for you. As always, keep your brother in prayer as I strive to serve the Lord Jesus Christ in this hard way of holiness. Keep me and my family in prayer, as well as the brothers and their families as well. As you heard, Brother Graham got an 8 piece over there now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's a whole different story over there now. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
Yeah,
so,
he
but
got
Yeah.
he got people pulling up to his house looking in his backyard.
Hey man, hey man, where the grass at, man? Where the grass
Like, man, what you over there doing?
That's true.
Yeah.
no, but no, but
Hey,
let's
Brother
keep the brothers
Grimes.
great.
Hey, Brother Grimes, you know if you had one more, you could consider yourself a commonwealth, right?
Oh,
For real though, he could, he could, he could. And the crazy part
Man.
is, those of you watching, 8 piece in this way of holiness is not even the most I've heard. You know what
Mm.
I'm saying?
Oh
I've
no.
had a lot of kids. There's some families of 11. We have a family of 18, and there's a family
20.
Hmm.
of 20. So,
Yeah.
Brother Grimes is my days is on the lower end
I'm
Yeah.
a
in this way
rookie.
of holiness. You still,
Yeah.
you still got enough for a basketball team, though. You still got enough for a basketball team, though. Still got enough,
I'm a
man.
rookie Sunday, but the good thing is, if you have one or five or eight, they're brothers in the program that you can all kind of relate to. Somebody may have
Mhm.
one, somebody may have two. So that's one thing about Man Up. They're different. It's a different brother, different style that you'll
Mhm.
possibly associate with. So
Right.
yeah, I have eight, but you may just want one. So
Well,
Mhm.
absolutely, absolutely. So, but thank y'all very much. Moreover, this concludes this is your brother Sundin Esperance. As some of you may know me as a podcast man. God bless and peace be unto you all. Another wonderful episode of the I Thrive podcast.